Okay, cool. Cool. Okay, so for those who do not know, this is Trap 15, and do you go by the Ptoing or just Ptoing? Okay. So tell me about this project. I mean, I think I've known about it for a very long time.
I can't hear you much.
Oh, okay.
That's a problem.
This is gonna be
Let's
cute.
get cozy.
Yeah, let's get in there. It's very loud back here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. So, how long have you guys been working on this? And can you tell me a little bit about what Firelancer is, for those who don't already know?
See, I guess I started it about 3.5 years ago, something like that.
That sounds about right, from what I know.
I know I joined April 2015. That's when the first video with the first content I made went up YouTube. So early April, like 2015 is when I joined.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, I wanted to make a shooting game because I had written several shooting game engines before, and none of them went anywhere, and I hated the code.
Right.
So I wanted to write a new one.
Okay.
And I had just gotten a Wonderswan and a Wonder Witch, so I said, why not? It's already vertical.
Right.
And it has enough buttons. And so I did.
And so, what you're saying, and I know this, but not a lot of people here will get it. So Firelancer is a vertical, independently developed shoot 'em up for the Bandai Wonderswan.
That's correct.
And it's designed to run on the original hardware.
Sure is.
So, it seems like that was just sort of an organic decision. It wasn't like, yeah, I really want to make a game for Wonderswan. It was, was it just like what you were excited about at the time?
Yes, definitely. It was definitely more of, I want to make this thing, but I don't really have a platform except this thing I just got.
Okay.
Because, I like to develop stuff for consoles and
Right.
embedded hardware.
Right.
And so making a PC game was out of the question, which is quite a thing to say in the year of our Lord, 2018. But yeah, so I was like, well, I got this thing, and there's a development kit for it, and let's just fuck around a little bit.
Yeah. So first of all, for those who are watching, unfortunately, we don't have any video that we can show of the game. There are some recordings on YouTube, but they're unlisted, or they're older builds, or for whatever reason, they're not very suitable. But I believe Icarus has been live streaming IRL, some footage of the game, and I'm assuming that there will be some coming out pretty soon after the event.
Yeah, definitely. I was actually thinking, maybe an hour ago that I should take some, phone camera footage of people actually playing it here.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of the first time that the general public's been able to play this game.
Right. And I mean, I've known about this project for a couple years, so I've been able to play test it in its various iterations. But this is the first time that I know of that you've really just let anyone touch it.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about. First of all, what are your plans for this game? When is it going to release? If you have any idea. When might there be a public demo? If you have any idea. Maybe start with the demo.
Yeah, so, let's start with the demo. The demo, my original plan was to have the version that I would show here be the same demo that we release, like, maybe during the event or shortly after. But the reality is we just didn't have enough time to get everything done. So, so instead we're going to spend the next couple months, polishing it up.
Okay.
And so hopefully we will have the demo out before the end of the year.
Okay.
I think that's a reasonable thing to say.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
And now, when you say demo, again, keeping in mind that this is a Wonderswan game, you're talking about a ROM, essentially, that you can put on a Wonderswan flash card. You're not talking about like a PC executable file.
Correct. The demo would be released as the Wonderswan ROM file, so you could play it in an emulator, or you could use a a flash cart and
Okay.
play it on real hardware.
But
And then also, the Wonder Witch has the capability to still run this, so we will release a Wonder Witch image so people can use that, since it's a little easier to find, and there's more of them out there than there are flashcards.
Right. So, tell me a little bit about. I mean, the WonderSwan has a very interesting relationship with independent development, and with what the Wonder Witch is. Tell me a little bit about that and how that relates to what you hope to do with this game.
So the Wonder Witch came out, and I think around 2001, and it was developed by Qt Corporation, the same people that people watching may know as the developers of Eschatos or Gingaforce. But this was before they actually even did game development.
Right.
So they, I don't know who asked who to do it, but they released this Wonder Witch for the WonderSwan officially, and got a lot of support from Bandai while doing it. So they actually ran software competitions where people would submit their games or tools or whatever for Wonder Witch, and they had judges rank them and see what was the best software. And this ran for a couple years, and it wasn't small. There are hundreds of entries for each year, which is really impressive for a handheld homebrew kit.
Yeah.
But one of these games in 2001 was Judgment Silver Sword. And that version is actually a lot different from any other version of Judgment Silver Sword that you can play today. But somebody at Qt said that, or saw that, and apparently thought this is really good, because it won the first place for that year. And they got to release it, like finish polishing it up and release it as an actual official cartridge.
Yeah. And then, years later, it was packaged with Eschatos.
Yes, years later it came back with Eschatos and
sort of coming full circle.
And Cardinal Sins as well,
yes.
which originally was only available on Wonder Witch. They never released a cartridge.
Okay.
And that was MKai's way of saying, thanks everybody for buying my game, have this special treat.
And am I correct? It's only Judgment Silver Sword and Dicing Knight, which is like a dungeon crawly kind of game. Those are the only two Wonder Witch games which ever got released on proper cartridges.
Correct.
Yes.
And so Dicing Knight is actually developed by Murasame, which people may know as Platine Dispositif.
Oh, yeah.
Who did the Gundamonium series, I think.
Right, yeah.
So shooting game people might know that as well.
So, I guess, what does it mean if you're developing? Is this the first true independent WonderSwan game? Like, would you say that, because your ultimate aspiration is to make hardware, right?
Right. No, I think Judgment Silver Sword and Dicing Knight count as this pretty well. Although it's a little different because that's officially released.
Right.
It's an official cartridge in every capacity.
Okay.
But this would be the first non-official, the first aftermarket non-official game for the system.
Okay, so it's kind of historic in a way, I guess.
I mean, I guess. I wouldn't put it that way, but it's not untrue to phrase it that way.
Okay. Well, very, very cool. So, stepping back a bit, tell me a bit about what the game is, what some of your inspirations for it were, and kind of what you hope it will become.
It's a lot of things. I wanted to make a game that was approachable and interesting to a lot of different types of people. So there's a lot of different ways to play the game, and hopefully there's something in there for everybody. Whether it's nice graphics, nice music, interesting ways to play the game, interesting scoring systems.
Right.
you know, at the same time, I want to make it approachable, so new players should be able to play the game,
right?
But also deep and interesting enough for advanced players to still find something even after they can clear the game.
Right. So when you talk about variety, I mean, you have 4 or 5 ships.
In the current demo, we have 3 ships.
Oh, okay.
In the demo we will release later this year, there will be 4 ships.
Okay. And then there's 3 or 4 gameplay modes?
There are 3 game modes in the current demo. For the demo we will release later, there'll be 4 at least, maybe 5.
Okay.
I don't know about the all stages mode for that. It depends how it works out.
Like basically trial mode, which is like the same boss over and over again, gets harder and harder, like any boss that's in the game already, and maybe a boss rush mode, right? For the demo.
I think boss rush mode probably
The 3
won't.
bosses, yeah.
It'll be, I don't think it fits for the demo, but somebody
Wow.
just won.
Something just happened. Oh, was it something Pro Tour? Okay. So when you talk about the stages and such, this game is in the Darius tradition of having multiple branching paths and multiple stages that you can choose from. So you're contemplating adding an all stages mode, you said?
Correct. Yeah, so the game does have a Darius style branching stage system. I'll leave it up to everybody who plays to figure out exactly how that works.
Oh, okay.
But yes, essentially there's 8 stages in the game, but you only play 4 in each run.
Okay.
And so I think that gives some replayability because you don't get to see the entire game in one go.
Sure.
So it gives you reasons to try other things out.
Sure.
But yes, the idea is I also want an all stages mode because I've put some detail into trying to keep the game consistent no matter which way you play it. So there won't be anything where it's like, oh, you just went to space. Oh, hey, you're back on Earth.
Okay.
Yeah, there should be an all stages mode for the demo at least.
So the gameplay is very markedly different for each of the ships. They have very different abilities, very different bombs, option, whatever. Like the completely different play styles between each of them. But the common themes are the scoring. It usually works in a meddling fashion, correct?
It works in a meddling fashion for one of the difficulty modes.
Okay.
So all 3 difficulty modes have very different scoring systems.
Okay.
Which I've tried to design around the specifics of the difficulty mode itself, rather than designing the difficulty around the scoring system.
Right.
So you've got light mode, which is easy. I guess you could call it easy mode, but it has a much more aggressive scoring system. So even though the enemies themselves are maybe a little less dangerous, you have to play in a more dangerous fashion in order to get the most points.
Okay.
And then there's heavy mode, which is ostensibly the mode that I've designed the game for, and that has a medal system. Not too different from Garega.
Okay.
And then there is Real War mode, which is...
Real War.
Yes, it is the most real of wars, and the bullets speed is set to match actual bullets.
Not quite. Not quite hit scanning.
Okay,
And,
wow.
And in that mode, it's a little too hard to pick up medals, so that doesn't make sense. And the bullets are way too fast, and there's too many of them to get up in enemies' faces. So I went with a more multiplier type system.
Okay.
Kind of similar to Dodonpachi, but I feel it's more lenient and a bit more freeform.
Okay. I don't think I've tried Real War. I've definitely played the other 2, but I'll have to give that a go.
You should give it a shot.
Yeah.
It's very hard, and I like that.
So, sort of a troll question from chat, but I think also one that needs to be addressed. You use words like approachable in the context of a game that's made for hardware that's been obsolete for a decade. I mean, yes, there is emulation, but are there any WonderSwan emulators that are actually like good? I remember you were even saying that you're using some technical tricks that are maybe not even fully supported with some of these.
Yes, it is a little conflicting to try to make an approachable game for a system that hasn't had a game released in 15 years. But yes, there are emulators that are sufficient, mostly because all the tricks that I've used, if I've discovered them myself and they don't work in emulators, I have either made patches to fix it or told the developers of the emulators how to fix it.
Okay.
And so at this point in time, I believe Mednafen is capable of running everything.
Okay.
But I'm not, I haven't put too much testing into that yet.
Okay. So I guess that sort of leads into tell me a little bit about the process. Tell me a little bit about the process of developing a game for the WonderSwan. I mean, what kinds of challenges did you run into, both on the technical side and also on the artistic side, with trying to create a game for that limited hardware?
Well, I might get a little technical here, but the WonderSwan uses a very old styled CPU. So it doesn't have easy access to all the memory all at once, which makes things really difficult. And then also the tools for it, while by a lot of standards are mature and are, could be counted as sufficient, in reality they're not sufficient, and they require a lot of manual intervention to try to make work properly or generate good enough code or fast enough code so that I can run my game at a full speed without any slowdown.
Okay.
And have it, play the way I want it to.
Sure. And then, Ptoing, you're doing the graphics for Firelancer, correct?
Yes, yes.
Can you comment on how that process has developed and what challenges, if any, there have been working on a WonderSwan game?
Well, the WonderSwan, graphically speaking, is somewhere between the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy Advance. More towards the Game Boy Color in some ways, more towards the Game Boy Advance in others. And it's tile-based and limited like palettes.
Correct.
So the main, one of the main challenges in making a game for any such system look good is to how do you juggle the palettes, which palettes are fixed. So in the beginning, I think there are totally 8 palettes that sprites can use. There are 16 colors each. And you want to have it so that the least amount of those are fixed throughout the whole game, so that you can vary your enemy colors, right? And in the beginning, I had like 5 fixed palettes, and we worked that down with virtually no loss to 3 fixed palettes, so we have like 5 palettes just for enemies.
Okay.
And that's the main thing, basically. And then it's like how many sprites there can be at any one time on the screen, plus in memory. Like in memory, I think it's like 1024. And 512 of those can be sprites, and any of those could be used as background tiles.
Okay.
So it's like basically memory managing and managing palettes, and like how can we reuse palettes? For example, one of the fixed palettes is mainly originally was used for explosions and the medals, but since then that palette has been reused for the bomb effects, for all of the player sprites. It's been used for all sorts of like little tiny things. So that's what you want to do. You want to get the most like value out of like any palette you're making. Like if you can reuse a palette in a way that's like still visually okay, so that everything is readable, that's what you want to aim for, basically.
So you're quite well known in the pixel art world.
Yeah.
And you've worked on other projects on limited hardware before with paletted color.
Yes. I started pixeling for fun back in 2003, and then in 2005 I got a job offer to work for a company that back then was working on Game Boy Advance and DS games, so I shipped some of those, all of which are not worth mentioning, they're not very good.
Okay.
And then later I worked at Glue Mobile in London, making mobile phone games before smartphones were a thing. So like J2ME, Java-based applets. That was good fun. And then I, since 2008, I'm freelancing, and I've worked on like a bunch of games for Way Forward Technologies on the DS. Like I did backgrounds for Aliens Infestation. I did some backgrounds for Shantae on the DS.
Wow,
the
yeah,
DS
nice.
I1, and like miscellaneous like stuff for other things they did, as well as like other freelance for some indie games and things like that. Yeah.
So, for the aesthetic of Fire Lancer, is there any particular visual reference? You know, does it look like Dodonpachi? Does it look like Gorega?
There's definitely some Dodonpachi, especially like in the way that I approach the bosses.
Okay.
It's not 100% Dodonpachi. There's like not as much like detail and greeble.
Right.
Because on a tiny screen like that, it would look too busy. But when it comes to the palette layout, I'm also like referencing Dodonpachi to some degree, not like what colors I use, but in Dodonpachi, for example, all the enemies virtually consist of 7 main colors, 4 secondary colors, which are usually used for metal, and 3 accent colors, which are used for the cockpits and like the colorful kind of highlights on the wings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I did something similar, not quite the same. So I have black and white on all sprites. And then I think there's like 7 in-between colors. Again, also metal colors, but what I've done differently to Dodonpachi is that there's like main accent and metal color, but they all can go through the main colors into the black, so like all of the palettes have a shared dark range basically.
Okay.
So I can stretch them out a bit, so it's a bit more flexible than what you get in Dodonpachi in that way.
Okay. So you mentioned that the Wonderswan is very low resolution.
Yes.
What exactly is the resolution, and how does it compare to something that people might be more familiar with, like say a cave board?
It's 224 by 144 if you hold it vertically. And that's a tiny bit smaller than the Game Boy Advance. For example, the Game Boy Advance is 240 by 160.
Okay.
So basically, yeah, so 16 pixels more in each like direction. And but to put it into contrast to the general shmup resolution of like 320 by 240,
right.
If you had that resolution horizontally, you could fit the screen of the Wonderswan on there vertically twice and still have a bit of space left.
Okay. So it's less than half of the pixels.
It's a bit less than half than 320 by 240, yes.
Okay. I'm sure that presents some challenges when you're designing, you know, small enemies, for example.
Yes, like the main challenge is obviously the player sprites are all 16 by 16 pixels, as well as the smallest Zako enemies are also 16 by 16 pixels. And making banking animation, not necessarily rotation from top down, but the left-right banking animations at those low resolutions, or we got like one Zako that spins.
Right.
Doing that at that low resolution, making it look more interesting, you have to fudge it. Like, that's a pretty good way to do it, so it looks accurate, but the problem is it comes sometimes down to where the technical should move afterwards.
Oh. This is really starting to bug the hell out of me. It's a software problem. It's not anything failing with the mixer that I have.
That's odd.
It's
Okay.
somehow the signal is dropping
working,
out.
or?
Yeah, I can see you now. Can you say something?
Okay.
Yeah. You
So
should be
sometimes when you're making a banking animation for a ship, you technically should like move something by half a pixel, but obviously then you have to, choose like, do I do this pixel or do I leave it off, and you have to see what looks good. And yeah, that's like a lot of fudge at that tiny resolution. Like if you look at the ships in something like Dodonpachi, the player ships are usually around in a 32 by 32, like a bit smaller.
Yeah.
And that's like no problem doing like banking animations that are like pretty like mathematically accurate. But at 16 by 16, you have to fudge. So.
Okay. So probably a question that a lot of people who are watching this might ask: if you're, currently showing it on arcade, and in an arcade machine, do you have any plans to produce an arcade release?
I want to say yes, but no.
Okay.
The only actual plan for release is a Wonderswan color cartridge release, full, like, it should look like an official release, so it will be in the same size and style box, same style and size, you know, artwork on top of it, a manual, the cartridge itself.
Wow, so you're going all the way.
Yeah, just it should look exactly like an official retail release of a Wonderswan game. And I've kicked around ideas for doing other releases down the line, but I don't want to guarantee anything or you know, make any promises, because that's not the focus of the project.
Okay. So then it's currently running on what exactly? Or is that not important?
It's not important at all. Because right now it's running on a very generic platform that I could very easily put on almost anything.
Okay.
So no matter where I decide to go with it, if there is another release besides the Wonderswan version, it could go actually anywhere.
Okay.
But I want to make a statement now that there will not be a PC version for a lot of reasons. So don't even ask me about it.
Okay. Okay. So, question from Panpan2DX. Will this game be better than Bakuretsu Breaker?
The answer to that is very clear no.
Right.
There's
nothing could possibly
There's no
be
way
better.
that you can beat JPEGs in space. It's not possible. Especially when, you know, it's an attack helicopter with spinning rotors and
yeah.
You know, screwed up perspective. That's the #1 game.
Okay. Okay. So what is your experience been of having it here in public? You know, how have people reacted to it? Do you think it's well received?
I definitely think it's been well received. You know, I haven't always been around the cabinet the entire time, but whenever I pass by it, there's usually somebody playing on it, and that's that feels like a very good sign to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially with that lineup of games, you know, there's like Pink Sweets, Battle Garega.
Oh yeah, the lineup here is insane. The lineup here is some of the greatest games of all time.
Yeah,
so,
but also very intimidating games to someone who isn't that familiar with the genre.
Yeah.
And then you see Fire Lancer, and it's in many ways much more approachable. It looks much friendlier.
That has definitely been part of my goal, at least, and I think Toying shares the same feeling on that.
For sure, yeah. Like, I myself am like, I like playing shmups. I'm by like no means a super player. I've once seen a bunch of cave games and other like shmups out there, but I think in Fire Lancer we're taking basically the approach of Mushihime-sama in terms of modes,
right,
where you really have like modes that are like nice and easy to understand, but like not super hard to begin with. Then you have like the original mode, which is our like heavy mode, which is like for veterans as well as for newcomers, still approachable, and then Real War, which really, if you haven't played any shmups and you play that mode, you're just gonna get blasted completely like in a corner, like you're instantly dead basically. But that mode, if you play heavy for a while and then get to Real War, I think that will be doable as well. So I think it's nice and approachable in that way. There's a nice progression of difficulty in the modes, definitely.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier that there will be 8 stages in the final game, correct?
Yes. Correct.
So,
like I said, it's 8 stages in total, but in any given game,
right,
you're only going to play 4 of them.
Yeah, and
so
that's technically 4 paths that are possible.
Okay.
So if you play the whole game through, there will be 4 branches basically that are possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how many stages are available in the current demo here?
In the demo that's here right now, there are 3 stages, and you play 2 stages in each run.
Okay.
And that's still the plan for the demo later this year.
Okay.
there are 2 more stages that are, still in the cooker. So they're still being worked on, but they're not really even close to ready for public consumption. So.
Okay. We have a question about the instruction strip, which I was also quite impressed by.
Yes. So, I don't remember how long ago it was, but maybe about a month ago, I mentioned, I got a cabinet for putting Fire Lancer here at Stunfest, and we were like, well, I guess we could do some artwork, some kit pieces, I guess.
Right. Kit pieces for the game that will never have an arcade release.
Exactly.
Right.
So, we asked what cabinet it would run in, and thankfully it was an Egret 2.
Yeah.
Which both I and a lot of the people I know at home have. So,
right.
It's something that we can all be like, even if it doesn't go anywhere, we can put it in our machines and
right.
and use the artwork there, and it works. And also it makes it, nice and easy for testing, because you just
absolutely
set it in and that's how it'll look.
Right.
But yeah, so about a month ago I was like, well, we're doing this and it would be cool to have some artwork. And a friend of mine in chat, Masamune GTO, David Paquette, he was unemployed at the time, so he had all the free time in the world, and he was like, I want to do that. That sounds cool. And
awesome.
Because he had shown me before, he'd made some move strips for Dragon Ball Fighter Z.
Oh, okay, cool.
I don't know if he's released them anywhere, but he showed some pictures, and I was like, this looks really nice. Would you like to work on this too?
Yeah.
And so him and another friend that's local to me, Eric Diem, they collaborated on it, and talked with Patoing and coordinated stuff and put together a very nice looking move strip.
Yeah, I'm quite impressed with it myself.
And I guess let's have Patoing's input on it, since he did most of the original artwork that the design is based on.
Yeah, well, the move strip basically uses the original title screen, which if we make a final version of something like that, would be redrawn in higher resolution. It uses the ships from the ship select screen, which are bigger versions, 64 by 64 pixels, which have been scaled up, and they look really nice. Like the pixels look nice and even on the move strip. And then the layout, or like the colors and stuff like that, are basically based on the menus in the game, and they've been adjusted a tiny bit to come out in print better. But like Eric, he's like a professional, and he knows what like works, and it looks really, really good. Like, so I'm really happy with it.
Yeah. Let's see.
Well, you can probably see the strip after the event on Shmup's forum. I guess there will be photos from Trap.
Huh?
Like, someone asked, where can I see this strip? Like on Shmup Farm, probably, like after the event photos.
So I have a picture on my Twitter of the cabinet already, and you should be able to see the move strip in that.
Right, and that's at Trap0XF, correct?
Correct. And I'll try to get better pictures or something later. And, well, I have a website, but it hasn't been updated in quite a while. So I'll try to get pictures up on there as well.
Okay. Railslave in chat, I think there is some footage of the machine, but it's pretty limited, and it's on part of Icarus's IRL streams from the event here.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been any official, like, Fire Lancer footage yet.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, it's Icarus streamed it, I think, yesterday for quite a while. So
cool.
If you go on Icarus's Twitch, I don't know, do you know his Twitch address?
Probably Icarus FW.
Yeah, that's Icarus correct. FW, yeah, that sounds right. So there should be the streams from yesterday, which at some point, among other things, should show Fire Lancer, yeah.
Okay. So can you tell me a little bit about the story behind the game? Because it seems like you've come up with a very interesting backstory for this.
I wrote it in half an hour and decided this is good enough, and it gives me enough information to plan the actual game and keep it consistent throughout.
Right.
It's a pretty silly, oh, the Earth is destroyed, so we had to go somewhere else, and now the people that are left on Earth are angry about it.
Right.
And so there's kind of a little revenge story thing going on there. But
morally ambiguous shmup ending.
Yeah.
yes, that's a thing I've always liked in games, is when the ending is, maybe I wasn't the good guy.
Yeah.
So I had to put something like that in there.
Okay.
But the story is very thin. There's basically no mention of any of it until the ending
Right.
in the game right now.
Which I have seen.
Right, and I want to keep it that way because I don't really like when story intrudes on a game.
Okay. Have you thought about having any kind of story in the attract mode, or?
I've thought about it, but I'm not sold on the idea, so I don't know.
Okay. So no old war, no drama.
No, not well.
Old military, sorry.
If-
Old military.
If we do put something in the attract mode, we'll try to make it at least look
Earth
fancy.
was really hollow.
Oh, yeah. We are. We are great.
We are fierce bounty hunters.
Yeah.
No, they are fierce bounty hunters.
Yeah,
My bad.
they are fierce bounty hunters. Yeah, no. If there is story going in the attract sequence, it'll be heavily stylized.
Right, of course.
The sort of thing that you should be able to appreciate, even if you can't actually read the story itself.
Right. Okay. So, yeah. I guess that kind of about wraps up where I'm at. Are there any outstanding questions from the chat? Do you guys have anything else that you'd like me to talk about? In the meantime, do you have any comments for the chat? Do you have any questions for the chat or for me? That thing you asked me not to ask you.
What?
Exactly.
Wait for it. It'll be out hopefully this year. I mean, I say hopefully because I've said that for the past couple of years.
Right.
So we'll see. But I feel like we actually have a pretty good chance of meeting that deadline this time.
Yeah, I think from like an art standpoint, there's like not that much left to get the demo done. Like the level backgrounds as they are at the moment, they work perfectly fine. I would maybe like to optimize them a bit more in the sense that I can use more tiles than I used now. Like for this demo, I was very conservative.
Right.
So I could nicen them up a bit more, like better contrast in some regards, and I have to optimize them for the actual Wonderswan. They work perfectly fine on arcade. For the Wonderswan, like Swan Crystal is what we are actually targeting. It's too dark unless you have a front light mod. But other than that, there's like the trial menu left, so if you want to include trial mode, and most of it that's left would be like code optimization, I guess, and some graphics. So it should definitely, like, if it's not done before the end of the year, then we've done something wrong.
Okay.
Like, it should be perfectly doable.
Yeah, we're already very close. I mean, like I said, I wanted to have the demo here be the demo we release, but I feel like we just barely slipped that possibility.
Yeah, someone is asking if the cab is running Wonderswan emulator.
No, it's not a Wonderswan emulator. It's its own type of build that lets me make small changes if I wanted to. So the version running in the arcade cabinet has a little bit more fancy explosions because I don't have the sprite limitations there anymore.
Right.
So I can spawn, a bit more explosions. But I wanted to keep the gameplay itself faithful to the Wonderswan version. So there's no more extra bullets. Nothing else has changed.
Okay.
And also to cathode rays, or however that's pronounced, don't buy a Wonderswan, buy a Swan Crystal.
Yes, if you buy a Wonderswan color, you are going to be gravely disappointed.
Like, the screen on the Wonderswan color is basically soup. It's very, very blurry. And the game moves very fast, so extra soup right there. So get a Swan Crystal. That's what we are optimizing it for. There will probably be ways to change the palette to make it even darker, or like darker backgrounds, brighter sprites for the Wonderswan. But if you can get a Swan Crystal.
Okay. people asking. I think
And get a Flashmaster flash card as well for the demo. Throw some money at Mandy.
Yeah, Flavor. The WonderSwan flash card is very good.
Yes.
I think we've pretty much already covered this, but they're asking just to clarify: the current arcade version will never be released.
There's no
current one-
plan to release it.
Okay.
Like
I'm not going to say never, but
Yeah.
there's nothing in my actual planning on doing so.
Okay.
Yes, if you play on the WonderSwan color, it is indeed a soup 'em up instead of a shoot 'em up. It's true. Why am I sober? That is a very good question. I
don't
need
know.
more beer.
Yep. Actually, I don't know how much WonderSwans go for right now. Are they cheap?
Swan crystals are around $120.
Yes, Swan crystals. If you get them without any modifications, they can be picked up from anywhere from $80 to $120. If you get a WonderSwan color because you hate yourself, those are around $40 to $60. So if you really want to play it and you don't mind literally not being able to see, you can try that. But I know you'll be disappointed if you do so.
Okay. And when you're listing these prices, this is on like eBay or YHA or?
I would recommend against using eBay because it's one of those things where it was only released in Japan, so there's a lot of people that are like, oh, it's this rare import thing, and so they try to rip you off. So there's ones on eBay that are like $200, and don't pay $200 for a Swan crystal.
Yes. Or if you've got a friend in Japan, ask them if they can go to Akihabara and check around the shops there.
Yeah, if
That's
you
your
go,
best bet. Yes.
If you go to like a book off or something, you can get them for extremely cheap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you can get like WonderSwan colors for like $5. Like they're very cheap.
Okay. So no $411 on Amazon.
No, please don't ever buy one for over $200.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. Let's see. Everyone go to hard off. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, well, that about wraps it up for the stuff that I was planning to ask. Yeah, so very exciting to be able to talk about this finally. I've known about it for quite a while, but it's sort of been an open secret, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And yeah, really, really exciting that you guys feel like you're closing in on a release. So that must feel really good.
Demo release.
Even a demo release,
The
still.
full game's done when it's done.
Right. But
Yes.
even a demo release is still a release. That's still a very big deal. And as something that it's a hobby project, it's not a full-time job. There's only so much time and effort you can devote to it. I completely understand.
I think I can speak for both of us when I'm saying that the reception we got on at Stunfest here definitely has reinvigorated us to work more on it.
Absolutely.
Definitely that's the case for me.
Yeah, it's definitely the case for me too. I wasn't expecting such a positive reception
Yeah, it's
from
overwhelmingly
such
positive,
a broad spectrum of people as well.
Right.
It's been very interesting to see.
Okay. Well, do you guys have any closing words, or should I just wrap it up?
I don't really have anything. Do you?
Yeah, again, buy a WonderSwan, the Swan Crystal, buy the Flashmaster from Flavor at Mandy, and then get the demo, and if you like it, buy the card when it comes out. That's all I gotta say. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's a really great game so far, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more of it in the future. So
Thanks a lot, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
thank you both for coming on here.
Yeah,
it was
and,
a pleasure.
Thanks
Yeah.
for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. And to those watching, thanks for hanging in there. I realize it's a little bit hard, especially since there's no footage to show of this game. But hopefully we'll be able to remedy that soon. So that concludes it for the coverage for today. Tomorrow we will be having another repeat race between Eaglet and Plasmo, and then right away back to back with that we have the second run of Diojo White Label, as again played by Fufufu. So that should be a really impressive block. Look forward to that.
Yeah, please do watch that Garega run. I saw the ending of the last one, so I was a little disappointed to not see the entire thing, and so I'm really excited to see that too.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be. It's kind of a revenge match, I guess. Cause,
yeah, I can't wait to see Plasmo destroy Eaglet this time.
yeah, hopefully. Right?
Yeah, like Masamune GTO, you asked if any super players played it. Both Fufufu and Saito-san played it, and they did enjoy it. And also people like Icarus, Plasmo, they enjoyed. Eaglet likes it. Like all the people who play shmups like a lot.
It.
They seem to definitely like it. So yes.
All right.
Violence on stream when? Are you gonna stream later maybe, or you can't really stream it from here?
No, you can't stream.
We're gonna ask like Icarus if you can stream it again, and if Icarus streams it, we're gonna let you know. Maybe then you can. I don't know, but Icarus broadcasts from Twitter anyway.
I
follow Icarus on Twitter, and then if he streams it, you will know.
You'll if you're watching Icarus's IRL stuff, you'll probably know about it. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Follow Icarus.
So yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.